Call me baby doo-doo. Don't ask me. Yeah, baby doo-doo.
I'm gonna give you one piece of merchandise. If you can sell it, we can talk business.
They say Omar Gooding was born to be famous. The little boy nicknamed Baby Doo-Doo grew up under the light's laughter and applause. But few knew that very light was what burned away his entire childhood. Omar was given 3 gifts that Hollywood worships: the prestigious Gooding name, a shining legacy, and a glow that never fades. But to him, those weren't blessings, they were a curse. The media only drew the image they wanted. Behind the screen were nights spent curled up in a car where his breath mixed with the smell of gasoline because there was no home to return to. Moments he himself never wanted to mention again. Omar's journey was never a path to fame. It was a fight for survival in a world coated with glamour but rotten inside. Then suddenly, he disappeared. No scandal, no farewell. The name Omar Gooding vanished from every headline, as if he had never existed. How could a star burn that bright only to vanish completely? Who extinguished that light, and why, after 2 decades of silence, did he choose this very moment to finally speak out? The time has come for that silence to be shattered. Born from black excellence. Not everyone born in the light gets to shine. Omar Gooding didn't step into entertainment as an outsider. He was born in Los Angeles, a place where glory and ruin stand only one step apart. His father, Cuba Gooding Sr., the lead singer of the legendary soul group The Main Ingredient, once made America pause when Everybody Plays the Fool climbed into Billboard's top 3. His mother was also a singer, and his brother, Cuba Gooding Jr., stood on the Oscar stage shouting, "Show me the money," turning the whole family into a symbol of black pride. Carrying the Gooding name meant holding a golden ticket that could open every door, but it was also a blade sharp enough to cut the hand that held it. No one believed that the skinny youngest son could make it, because in a family of legends, there are only 2 choices to become the next icon or the eternal failure. While other kids played in the streets, Omar learned how to make people laugh even when there was nothing left to laugh about. He started acting at 9, a perfect launchpad, at least on paper. But that child wasn't allowed to fail to be sad, or even to be ordinary. On set, he had to make audiences laugh, while his own heart was empty. Every laugh from the crowd was a breath of oxygen, the only way to stay alive. Baby Doo-Doo. The nickname they gave him became his survival ticket, in a world where black men were only loved when they played the fool. And amid those laughs, Omar learned his first Hollywood lesson. When you don't yet have a solid place, you must become the industry's puppet. Then that light went out. His father, Cuba Gooding Sr., supported the anti-apartheid movement in Africa. He was blacklisted, erased from the industry. From soul legend to silence, the Gooding family hit rock bottom. They slept in cars. Split loaves of bread survived in cheap motels. Amid the night traffic, Omar sat in the back seat listening to his father say, "Light always comes with a price." It wasn't advice, it was a warning. The boy realized Hollywood lights were never free. And sometimes you are the sacrifice that keeps them burning. Justice had cost his father everything. But it taught Omar a truth many never grasp in this town. Telling the truth can make you disappear. When the family began to recover, Omar chose his own path. He didn't hide under his father's shadow, nor follow his brother's trail. At an age when his friends were working part-time at McDonald's, the money he earned could buy a BMW. No miracle, no patron, just the stubborn will of someone who'd known hunger. But Hollywood never welcomes those who don't fit the mold. He was turned away from dozens of auditions with the same line, "We already have another black actor." The next morning, he still showed up, still smiled. Then Smart Guy chose him, and America fell in love with the warm, honest big brother. A rare kind of role for a black man. But fame is like a golden shackle. The brighter it shines, the harder it is to remove. From then on, Omar understood Hollywood didn't want him, they wanted the funny black guy. In 2001, director John Singleton called him for Baby Boy. The role of Sweet Pea, a scarred, angry, but still human black man. Omar didn't act, he lived. The night spent sleeping in cars. The rejections, the punches from real life all came flooding back on screen. The film was a hit, grossing over $30 million. But while the audience applauded, the whispers began. He's difficult. He doesn't know his place. In Hollywood, the more real a black man is, the more dangerous he becomes. Omar didn't make mistakes. His crime was refusing to bow. And so the casting calls stopped. No scandals, no controversies. Only silence, the coldest weapon the system uses to erase a man. To bear the Gooding name means to be compared with every glance. In the public's eyes, Omar was talented, but to the industry, he was just Cuba's little brother. If you can't surpass the legend in your bloodline, you're just a shadow. Omar once believed talent would shine on its own, but he forgot one thing. In Hollywood, skill doesn't matter. Pleasing others does. He learned that too late when every door closed. Not because he failed, but because he dared to stand tall in a world that only rewards those who kneel. The name Omar Gooding slowly vanished from posters, from news headlines, from memory. But silence doesn't mean defeat. Sometimes silence is the last way a man can keep his dignity. In a world where laughter is sold and dignity is bargained, Omar chose silence. He no longer chased the spotlight, no longer tried to prove he was good enough. He lived, he taught, and occasionally appeared on screen not to reclaim fame, but to keep a promise to himself: never betray the soul of an artist. And perhaps that is the real victory. Hollywood can erase his name from the screens, but it can't erase the lesson he left behind. Don't let their light define your worth. Because in the Gooding legacy, Omar is not the shadow. He is the proof that some people choose to lose everything just to keep one thing intact: their pride. Hollywood and how it controls the black narrative. If Hollywood is an altar, then every artist who steps onto it must offer a piece of their soul. Those who are praised are the ones who know when to kneel. Those who stand tall are sooner or later branded as blasphemers. On the set of Baby Boy, Omar Gooding and Tyrese Gibson were once the dynamic duo that made America go wild. Jody and Sweet Pea, one flawed, one loyal. Two sides of the same black soul, crushed between poverty and prejudice. But when the film reached success, that brotherhood on screen began to fracture in real life. Crew members said there were days when the set felt like it was holding its breath. If Omar walked in, Tyrese went silent. If Tyrese smiled, Omar turned away. No one spoke, but everyone knew something was burning. Tyrese believed that to act truthfully, one had to live truthfully, to eat, walk, and breathe like the character. He invited Omar out to dinner to hang out, wanting to turn their on-screen bond into a real friendship. But for Omar, the camera shutting off marked a boundary. He didn't need to keep performing when real life was already exhausting. Tyrese saw it as coldness. Omar saw it as dignity. One wanted to merge, the other wanted to survive. Two strong personalities, and all it took was one spark to set everything ablaze. A witness recalled one afternoon when they met in a park outside Los Angeles. No crew, no director, just two men, two shadows facing each other. Words flew. Tyrese's voice rose. A step closer, shoulders brushed, neither backing down. Then came the day of the Just a Baby Boy music video shoot. The location was right near Omar's house, yet he was never invited. Some witnesses still remember clearly he parked his small truck by the edge of the grass. Watching the set lights music cast, everyone was there, except him. He stood there silently, then walked to Snoop Dogg's trailer, sat down and lit a cigarette. When a friend suggested he should join the shoot for fun, Omar simply said, "If I jump in and they cut me out, I'll never forget that." No one knew that was prophecy. A few weeks later, his image vanished from all promotional material. No announcement, no explanation, only silence, cold, clean, absolute. Rumors spread that he'd been frozen out. Others whispered he'd crossed a line of power Hollywood preferred to keep invisible. The crew chose the safest path: silence. And in Hollywood, when no one speaks, rumor becomes verdict. After Baby Boy, Tyrese soared, becoming the symbol of a young black man, fragile, impulsive, yet forgiven. Omar. He disappeared from the radar. No scandals, no crimes. It was as if someone had gently erased his name from the canvas with a very familiar hand. They call it representation, Omar once said. But sometimes it feels like a frame. You have to fit inside it. If not, they'll replace you. No one knew who he meant, Tyrese the director, or the system itself. But since that quote surfaced, all the pieces began to fall into place. Maybe the incident wasn't just a clash between two actors, but a cold reminder from Hollywood. Here, talent doesn't protect you from being forgotten. The moment you no longer fit the script, they'll rewrite the entire story except your name. No one knows exactly what happened. Only that after Baby Boy, one man walked on beneath the spotlight. The other stepped back into the shadows. And in that shadow, Omar Gooding seemed to realize one truth. In Hollywood, you don't lose because you fail. You lose because you stood too tall on an altar, meant only for those who know how to bow. When fame no longer feels like freedom, talent is only a temporary ticket if you only want to appear temporarily. You can have a legacy talent, a face that audiences trust, but one rare event is enough to make you rewrite your own script. And for Omar Gooding, that moment came right as he reached the peak of glory. On the set of Baby Boy, Omar and Tyrese Gibson were seen as the mirror image of Black America, one silent, grounded deep, the other explosive, desperate to be seen. Both were powerful, but their strengths pulled in opposite directions, like two magnetic poles both attracting and repelling each other. Omar acted with inner force, never showy. He believed acting was a craft of truth, not of spotlights. Tyrese, on the other hand, was Hollywood's chosen child. He lived for the stage, for applause, for the feeling of being loved. The duo made director John Singleton believe he had captured something Hollywood rarely allows: two black men, two opposite souls sharing one frame. But just when everything seemed perfect, the first crack appeared. People in the crew said there were days when the set went eerily silent. When Omar walked out, Tyrese went quiet. When Tyrese laughed, Omar looked away. No one said it aloud, but everyone could feel something breaking. Tyrese wanted to bring the bond off-screen, believing that to play brotherhood, they had to live as brothers, eat together, walk together, share everything. But for Omar, when the camera stopped, the character had to die. He didn't want to act off camera. Tyrese saw it as coldness. Omar saw it as self-respect. One needed attachment, the other needed distance. And between them began a silent war, not just over a role, but over how a black man should exist in Hollywood to explode, or to endure to be famous, or to be principled, to be loved, or to be respected. The climax came when the Just a Baby Boy music video was filmed. It was shot near Omar's home, but he wasn't invited. That day, Omar stopped his car at the edge of the grass. The lights glared, the music thumped, the crew laughed and filmed, missing only one man who helped create it all. No call, no explanation. He quietly looked for Snoop Dogg's trailer, sat down, smoked eyes distant. When someone asked why he didn't join for fun, Omar said, "If I jump in and they cut me out, I'll never forget that." The words were light as smoke, but sharp as prophecy. And indeed, weeks later, Omar vanished from Baby Boy's entire promotional campaign. No reason, no reply. Only silence, the cold, calculated silence Hollywood uses when it wants someone erased. From there, whispers began Omar's hard to work with. Omar's not flexible. No one verified because no one needed to. In Hollywood, when a rumor's told enough times, it becomes fact. Tyrese kept shining, becoming the face of a young black manhood, vulnerable, impulsive, but adored. Omar, the one who embodied strength, honesty, and depth, was pushed aside like a draft too real to keep. They call it representation, Omar once said, but sometimes it feels like a frame. You step into it, and they just want you to fit. No one knew if he was talking about Tyrese Hollywood or himself. But that line made people piece things together. Maybe Hollywood doesn't just make movies, it manufactures the versions of black men allowed to exist. And if someone strays from that script even slightly, he gets rewritten. Or maybe it was all a misunderstanding, a small crack inflated into a canyon. No one knows. Only that after Baby Boy, one man stayed under the lights, the other faded into shadow. And in that shadow, Omar realized one truth in Hollywood: you're not erased for lack of talent, but for refusing to play the role they wrote for you. People think I disappeared. No, I just stopped chasing Hollywood. That wasn't an excuse. It was a declaration of war. After decades trapped in other people's molds, Omar Gooding did what few dared. He pulled his own plug. No scandal, no ban. One day, while the lights still burned, he simply stepped out of the frame and left Hollywood asking who just did that. When people thought he was gone, Omar reappeared where no one expected Bounce TV. A small sitcom, tiny budget, no big studios, no A-listers. Yet Family Time survived 8 seasons, 91 episodes, something many million-dollar shows couldn't do. It wasn't a small project. It was a silent rebellion. The entire crew was black, writing, acting, producing themselves. No permission, no begging for a seat. Hollywood called him crazy. Omar laughed. He knew when the system builds a table and only lets you sit on the side, the simplest fix is to build a new table. I don't need to be invited to the table, I just build mine. That line became a rallying cry. A new generation of artists began repeating it. Like a vow. Don't wait for an invitation. Make your own seat. And then the unthinkable happened. Family Time. A show with no ads, no blockbusters, no primetime slot became a cultural phenomenon. The media had to change tone. Omar Gooding just proved you don't need Hollywood to make history. The man once known as Cuba's little brother became the quiet architect of black television. No launchpad, no golden statues. Only faith that truth could survive without Hollywood's blessing. Viewers didn't just watch, they believed. Because Family Time had no special effects, no fake lighting, only real life. The laughter was their own parents, kids' neighbors, small fights so real they hurt. Critics first called him reckless. Now they call him the quiet architect of black television. Some even compared him to early Tyler Perry, a man who didn't wait for Hollywood but built his own. But what people remember most isn't the 91 episodes. It's the message behind them. If they don't invite you to sit, build your own table. One day, they'll have to knock. Omar didn't just build a table, he rewrote the rules. Industry experts call it a lucky risk, but if you know Omar, you know it wasn't luck. It was the survival instinct of a man who'd lost everything and refused to be defined again. As Hollywood's lights dimmed, he didn't chase them. He just turned on his own. Smaller, but truer. And when Family Time ended, they asked Will, "You go back to Hollywood?" Omar smiled. "I never left. I just went where I belong." The real question is if everyone starts building their own table, like Omar will, Hollywood have any chairs left for itself? Rebuilding black creativity, black ownership. Omar Gooding didn't leave the entertainment industry. He stepped out of the loop. From the center of the stage, he chose the control room, where real people create real art. When Hollywood built walls, he didn't knock. He built his own road. And when he said, "It's time to tell everything," he wasn't revealing secrets. He was declaring one truth. Real success needs no permission. After years of being labeled Cuba, Gooding Jr.'s little brother Omar cut the cord. He didn't need an invitation. He only needed to invite himself to the table. In 2022, he founded Gooding Entertainment, a production company he runs himself. No investors, no backing system. Just one clear vision. If they won't tell our stories, I'll tell them myself. The first project was the rap track The Excuse, a song that didn't chase trends or please audiences. It was a confession and a rebirth. He wrote about lost faith and gratitude for the scars he carried from a homeless childhood to a Hollywood box. Within 24 hours, the song spread across social media and was featured by BET as a standout independent artist. His voice no longer sounded like an actor reading lines, but like a survivor recounting his own journey. "This isn't music," he said. "This is how I heal." From music, Omar moved to film, but not to million-dollar blockbusters. He chose independent cinema holiday hideaway, the perfect fine Netflix, small roles but real ones. Not to stay famous, but to remind audiences black artists don't need to wait to be chosen, they can choose themselves. Alongside that, the sitcom Family Time, a project he co-produced, became the clearest proof of his philosophy. 8 seasons, 91 episodes, no major studio, no massive budget. Yet loyal audiences followed every season. They didn't watch for fame, they watched for truth. In a Hollywood that felt distant, Family Time was a real home warm, simple and black. Critics called it The quiet revolution. But it wasn't quiet. It was an uprising disguised as calm. Omar knew exactly what he was doing. After decades inside the system, he understood there are two kinds of artists, those chosen to tell stories, and those who choose to tell them. He chose the latter. "I don't need to be invited to the table," he said. "I'll build my own table." That line spread across social media. Young people called him the table builder, the man who dared to make a seat when the world was still waiting for one. To them, Omar wasn't just an actor, he was a survival manual for a new generation of creators. Hollywood called it rebellion, but the Black community called it freedom. Omar no longer chases roles. He makes films, produces, and writes music not to prove his worth, but to reclaim ownership of it. In an industry where contracts can price your soul, Omar chose to protect his first. He doesn't sign to survive, he creates to live. Bet called him the silent architect of Black television. Variety wrote, "Omar Gooding proves you don't need Hollywood to make history." Audiences called him the man who escaped the system but kept his essence. His career is no longer measured by revenue, but by impact. When Family Time aired, thousands of viewers wrote, "Finally a show that speaks our language." When The Excuse debuted, people shared his lyrics like a wake-up call. You can fall and still stand again. And when Gooding Entertainment opened its first door, countless young actors sent in their scripts believing they too could walk without permission. Many called it reckless. But look closer. It wasn't luck. It was instinct. The instinct of a man erased from the map, deciding to draw a new one. Omar understood Hollywood doesn't kill with hammers. It kills with silence. And the only way to survive is to make your own noise. He made noise through music sitcoms and roles chosen like bullets. Each project a warning shot. We're still here. And this time we're telling our story. "I don't need to be seen," he said. "I just need to be understood." While Hollywood still recycles the same faces, Omar took the opposite road. He didn't seek light, he created it. Fame may fade, but contribution endures. He works not for applause, but for the right to speak truth. The result, Family Time, maintained steady ratings for 8 years. The Excuse reached hundreds of thousands of streams within weeks. Bet honored him as a defining figure of Black television. And most importantly, no one calls him Cuba's little brother anymore. He's Omar Gooding, the man laying foundations for a new generation of Black television. He stands alongside Tyler Perry, Issa Rae, Ava DuVernay, those who didn't beg for justice, but built it. Yet unlike them, Omar chose not noise, not debate, but results. He's no longer the man seeking opportunities. He's the man creating them. No longer a Black star in the system, he's the man rewriting the system. After 30 years in the game, Omar Gooding has become the emblem of a new generation of artists who don't need Hollywood to be the pinnacle of Black excellence. They don't need anyone to grant them light. They create it themselves. Now the question is no longer, how did Omar come back? The real question is, can Hollywood still keep up with those who no longer wait to be invited? From talent to cultural icon. Sometimes the quietest ones leave the longest echoes. Omar Gooding never created scandals, never chased awards, never begged for recognition. He let his work speak for him. And every project he touched, from the sitcom Family Time to the rap track. The Excuse carried the same spirit. Truth doesn't need permission to exist. For Omar, fame was no longer the destination. It was only the glitter surrounding another flame, the flame of identity. He understood that Black men in Hollywood are often only seen when they're laughing, when they're strong, or when they fall exactly when the system wants them to fall. But Omar chose differently. He stood on that thin line, neither playing the victim nor pretending to be a hero. He was human, a real human being who knows pain, loss, and how to rise again. The name Omar Gooding is no longer dragged behind the shadow of Cuba's little brother. It carries its own weight, not because he shouted louder, but because he stood longer. 30 years in the business, he proved one thing: perseverance is the highest form of rebellion. In a place where thousands of stars flare and fade, Omar chose to be the steady light guiding those who walk without waiting for approval. Now generations of young black artists, those who grew up with Smart Guy, laughed with Family Time, or vibed to The Excuse, speak of him with two simple words: a pioneer. Not because he was the first to do something, but because he was the first to dare not to conform. Bet called him the silent architect of black television. Newspapers described him as the strength of humility. But for the audience, he was simply the image of a man who never gave up. Hollywood once pushed him into the shadows, but he didn't let the darkness consume him. He turned it into material. Every time he was excluded, he built a new stage. Every time he was cut from the frame, he created another. That quiet defiance made him an icon not of glamour, but of endurance. Recognition soon went beyond acting. Omar became a cultural symbol. His image and story appeared in international magazines and across social media platforms, often mentioned in humorous or surprising stories about his masculine allure. Many called him the exiled heartthrob or the nameless model who shone nicknames that seemed contradictory, yet perfectly captured his transformation in the public eye from a forgotten actor to a symbol of charm and freedom. Omar's success extended far beyond acting, reaching into media, creative content, and advertising. He became a rare model of blending artistic talent with brand integrity. With his commanding presence, steadfast gaze, and a beauty that fuses Latin American and African roots, Omar became a new symbol of modern masculinity. Some magazines even hailed him as the representative face of East-West cultural fusion. Today, when people speak of black excellence, they no longer think only of golden statues or inspiring speeches. They think of Omar Gooding, the man who proved that real glory isn't given, it's built. He is no longer just an actor, a rapper, or the third Gooding. He is himself the man who survived the crashes, stood firm in Hollywood, and kept his soul intact. "I don't want to be famous," he once said. "I just want to be free." And sometimes freedom means knowing when to step out of the spotlight. In an industry where everything is mass-produced, from faces and stories to dreams, Omar Gooding stands as rare proof that success doesn't have to be loud. He is a reminder that in this world, you can lose everything, but if you keep yourself, you still have it all. When the final notes of The Excuse fade out, we see a different Omar, calm, grounded, free. It's not Hollywood's light shining on him anymore. It's his own light reflecting back, illuminating the corners the world once tried to ignore. Omar Gooding is not just an artist. He is a warning, a lesson, and a legacy. Because sometimes in a world full of performers, the real ones are the only stars that can never be replaced.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.